Your kid comes to the table, they immediately look at their plate and they say, "That's gross. I am not eating that." Maybe this is something that they liked yesterday. Maybe it's something they usually eat. Maybe it's something you think they're going to like, or maybe it's something totally new. Regardless of what's on their plate, it is incredibly frustrating. And I have been there too. I am Sarah, registered dietitian, certified intuitive eating counselor, and mom of two boys who are currently 4 and 7. And I have personally navigated picky eating in my home twice, despite doing all of the right things to prevent it. And honestly, we're still weathering the storm of food preferences constantly changing on a regular basis. So I've been there with you right in this exact situation so many times. And the natural reaction is to say things like, you always eat this. You liked this yesterday. Just try 2 bites. Or maybe it's, well, if you're not hungry for this, then you must not be hungry for dessert. Now, if you've said these things before, please let the shame go. I've said them too. Sometimes it's just what comes out of our mouths, right? But these kinds of responses don't work. They can actually make things worse for you and your child in the long run because they're forms of pressure. Pressure might work in the moment temporarily, but over time it eventually backfires, either creating this power struggle between you and your kid or teaching your kids to ignore their own body cues, which can lead in the long run to actually disordered eating and difficulty with self-regulation around certain foods. But I also don't recommend getting up and making a completely different meal either. So what should we do instead? Well, let's talk through how to go from "that's gross" to a more peaceful meal where everyone can sit down and eat together. Now, the first thing that I'm going to recommend you do is take a deep breath, pause, and remember that your child is not trying to give you a hard time. I promise. Actually, a lot of the time it has nothing to do with the meal itself or anything that's on their plate. There are a lot of reasons that kids might refuse foods that have nothing to do with the food. They might be tired, they might not be hungry, they might be too hungry and now they're in hangry territory, or they might just be having a hard day. These are just a few of the many reasons. Okay, the next thing I want you to do is remind yourself that your job as a parent is not to get your kids to eat everything that you serve. I know that sounds crazy. Your job as a parent is to decide what is served and when food is offered. That's it. Your child's job then is to decide whether they eat and if so, how much. Okay, honestly, I know that feels probably really counterintuitive, maybe a little scary or uncomfortable, but I hope in some ways this comes as a bit of a relief because now you can say, I've done my job, and as long as you've set your child up for success, which we're going to talk about next, you're done. That's great. Now you can sit down and eat your meal and take all the pressure off of yourself. Okay, now the next thing that you want to ask yourself is, did I set my child up for success? Now, every kid needs something a little bit different, but here are some things that I recommend for most families. Number one is there a safe food on their plate? Now, a safe food isn't necessarily their favorite food. It's just something that they reliably eat most of the time, and ideally it's something that can fill their bellies, so if that's all they choose to eat, you know that they've had the opportunity to get full. If there's a new food, did I serve so much that it feels overwhelming? Too much for one kid might be not enough for another, so this is highly child dependent. Is my child adequately hungry, but not overly hungry in that hangry territory? And did they have a chance to get energy out before the meal? Or, is there something else from a self-regulation standpoint that's going on? Are we sitting at the table having a meal together? If any of these things are off, we want to address those first. Okay, now let's talk about how to respond in the moment. Something that you might say that's really simple is, you don't have to eat, but we're all going to sit down together. And then literally don't say anything else about the food. Don't watch them. Don't ask them to take a bite. Again, forms of pressure. Just sit down and eat your meal. Talk about your day, about the highs and lows, maybe about something fun that's coming up. Literally talk about anything other than the food. Sometimes this is all you need to do just to kind of calm their nervous system, and they are able to then look at the food and eat. But there are also times where we want to gently bring attention to the food without pressure. So you might say something like, oh, I forgot to get the ketchup. Let me go grab that and just literally put it on the table. Or if it's another dip or something else, some other condiment that could be easily served with this meal that you know they like and is going to help them kind of feel comfortable. You don't need to serve it to them. They can ask for it. Or maybe they serve it themselves. You can also bring some play into foods. Maybe it's using fun toothpicks to pick things up. And you could do this yourself. You don't even have to give it to them. Just do it yourself. Put raspberries on your fingers if those happen to be on a plate. Make orange smiles. Give the broccoli a haircut. There's lots of ways we can bring play into food. You can play food scientist where you're smelling the food, touching the food, exploring it. And you might do that yourself rather than pressuring them to do it. And then they'll emulate you. Here's the important part though. If the foundation isn't there that we talked about in the beginning, these little tips and tricks rarely work. So now you might be wondering, how do I know if I set my child up for success? What do I do if they refuse dinner but ask for dessert? Or maybe they skip dinner and then they're hungry at bedtime. Or what if I'm doing all of these things and they're still refusing meals? What if they only eat the bread or the pasta? Now, these are really good questions, and the answer is that a lot of this is kid specific and family specific. But these are the exact things that I help all of the parents that I work with navigate. I work with families with kids from toddler age all the way through the elementary school years to help them manage picky or selective eating and raise healthy, balanced eaters without restriction, bribery, or negotiation. If you'd like more support making meal times more peaceful while you help your kids build a healthy relationship to all foods and their bodies, I'd love to chat with you. If you want to learn more, you can DM me on Instagram at busy.mom.nutrition. That's also linked below, or you can head to the link below to book a free call and we'll chat further to see if it's a good fit to work together.